Hey there, and welcome back to another podcast episode with Brittney Bundles. You are listening to the Brittney Bundles podcast, where we empower people through entrepreneurship. So, today I'm going to be talking about whether or not having a seasonal business is a good idea or if it's a bad idea. There are so many people that are operating seasonal businesses, and there's so many different conflicting beliefs on whether that is a good income stream or not. So I'm going to be talking about that today. I find it really interesting just to kind of dig into different mindsets of entrepreneurs and different type of businesses, just to see what you all think and kind of talk about some of my thought processes behind different business ventures. And so, if you are new to this podcast, on this podcast, I like to talk about entrepreneurship. I like to talk about balance, work life balance, mindset, building success, and I want to make sure that we're feeling good inside and out. Okay. So, before we get into this topic, I am going to encourage you all to share the podcast. Sharing the podcast not only helps to spread the word about what we're doing over here and provide motivation and resources to other entrepreneurs, but it also helps to promote past entrepreneurs that have been on this podcast. And also, it helps to promote the podcast for future entrepreneurs that are going to be on this podcast as well. So, we all want to do what we can to help the entrepreneurial community grow. And so, sharing is a way that we can do that. So, if you share the podcast with a family member or a friend via social media, you can share by just word of mouth. You can share by turning on the podcast and listening to it in the car while you're riding with someone. Whatever way that works best for you, feel free to go ahead and share, and we'll get right into this episode in just a moment. All right, we are back. Thank you so much for sharing. So, again, we're talking about seasonal businesses and whether it's a good idea to have one or not. Now, I do want to say this before I get into the podcast, that there are so many businesses, even like I mentioned, hair business, lawn care businesses, real estate, all of these businesses, and I'm just mentioning businesses that I have experience working through and seeing, kind of how the kind of seeing from start to present. And what I can say about seasonal businesses is that even if you don't have a business where you think it's necessarily seasonal, imagine certain times of your business that are more profitable than others. Okay. So a lot of times businesses experience slow seasons, even if they're not titled seasonal businesses. You may notice, if you're doing nails, for an example, that you have an influx of profit during tax season, right? And you may notice that you have another influx of profit during prom season. And so you just kind of want to be conscious on where your influxes are and where the slow seasons or slow peaks for your business occur, so that you can create different plans to help still produce revenue when the revenue slows down or spikes. So let's define what a seasonal business actually is. So a seasonal business is one that naturally has high and low periods. So like tax services comes to mind, landscaping, Christmas shops, Halloween stores, and even, like I mentioned, some parts of real estate. But here's the thing, okay? Being seasonal doesn't mean unsuccessful. It just means your cash flow and marketing strategy, they need to work a little differently. So your slow season doesn't define your business, but your preparation and your intentional strategies do, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the pros of seasonal businesses. Okay, let's start with the benefits. What are some of the positives? Because no matter what we're looking at in business, there's always going to be some good parts to doing it and also some not so good parts. But if we can figure out what we can do to better prepare for the not so good parts, we'll be in better shape. So, number one, flexibility. So you can plan your downtime for travel, learning, or rest. That is a benefit of having a seasonal business, because you know that your business is going to be particularly busy during a certain season. And so you can better prepare and plan for vacation time, family time, resting time, or even if you're looking at investing into another business. You have the ability to kind of foresee what a lot of entrepreneurs don't. So there are some businesses that are pretty consistent as well, depending on what industry they're in. And so I know, like for real estate, it gets really busy during the springtime. But there are some realtors that are very consistent with their level of business throughout the entire year. I also know landscaping, typically it's seasonal, but there are some lawn care and landscaping companies that also offer different snow removal and different type of services that are added onto their business, where they're still, being able to stay pretty consistent throughout the entire year. So it just kind of depends on how you're strategizing and how you're preparing. And even the ideas or the examples that I just provided, it's all about structuring and what you're going to do to combat some of that slow season. Also, another benefit is focused energy. So you can go all in when your season hits. Like at the high peaks of your season, you can go all in instead of feeling stretched thin, or instead of experiencing a lot of burnout that a lot of entrepreneurs feel or experience all year round. Now, with my online business, I do notice spikes. There are certain seasons where I do get more hair sales, like tax season is one of those seasons. The summertime, like right around spring, is another one of those seasons. But I am able to receive orders consistently throughout the year. And the way that I do that is by adding different services and also different memberships and being able to promote to different audiences depending on what I'm looking to promote. So I just launched a book club through my Patreon, the Bundles Book Club, and I created an ebook on my website. So I'm thinking of creating some more ebooks, because the last ebook that I created that's still on my website did pretty well, and I still get sales to this day for that ebook. But now that I am promoting to a different audience, people that are interested in reading books, I have a book club now, like I mentioned, on Patreon. I have another platform or another platform and another audience to promote a future ebook to. So social media is so useful in being able to help kind of pick up some of the areas when businesses are slow. And I think it's very important to look into other options and to know when your particular slow seasons are for your business, even like I said, if you're not classified as a seasonal business, because you want to make sure that you can capitalize on the slow times in your business, as far as getting rest, as far as being able to rejuvenate, get some creativity pumping again, and also be able to look into other investment opportunities. Another benefit is high profit spurts. So when you plan right, your busy season can generate enough income to cover the slow months. So like I was mentioning, some people, go on vacation during their slow months. And because they were able to strategize a plan and stick to a budget and capitalize on their high profits season, they were able to cover the months that were slower. So they didn't even need to look into other areas of investments or other ways to make money. Now, I don't want to put that out there and you feel like I'm saying it's not wise to look into other streams of income. But I am saying that there are certain times where certain entrepreneurs have decided, hey, I have enough income, I have other income streams coming in, I've already done my investments, I'm doing them currently, and I can't afford to take off for the winter season. So it's all about, again, strategizing and planning and making a commitment, in a sense, with yourself and your business. So to answer the question, is it bad to have a seasonal business, good to have a seasonal business? Seasonal businesses aren't automatically a bad idea, okay? It's not a no-go because it's, you're the business idea or your business may be considered a seasonal business. They just require intentional structure, but so does every other business, okay? Also, I'd like to talk about some of the cons and some of the common struggles with operating a seasonal business, or just a business that fluctuates during certain seasons, which is, in my opinion, the majority of businesses, okay? Because a lot of businesses, again, have their high seasons and they're not so high seasons, it's completely normal. It's just about what we're going to do to make sure we have a efficient strategy to make sure that our business is still healthy and growing. So there are going to be challenges, like with any business. One of the challenges is cash flow gaps. So if you don't budget, those months, like when you're experiencing slow influx of sales, they can be stressful. Also, inconsistent marketing. Many stop promoting businesses when they're slow, which makes the next business season even harder. So like I mentioned, some people are going on vacations during the slow season, and that's okay, but you want to still have a strategy and a plan set up where you're having like different automations work for you while you're not working. So different email mailers going out, that's still very imperative. Updating your blog, making sure you post on social media, engaging with your following, engaging with your clients. You still want to make sure that you're doing that so that when the busy season comes back again, you're not forgotten. You're still able to kick back in and still make good money. I've personally seen a lot of business owners quit during their slow season, not because their business didn't work, but because they didn't know how to prepare for that continuous cycle. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about how to make a seasonal business work year round. So here are some tips that have helped me and other entrepreneurs that I've worked with. So number one, diversify your offers. So add products, like I mentioned a little while ago, and services that fit your off season. For example, you can look into selling maintenance kits if you're a hair business owner, virtual classes in slow months, creating ebooks, different memberships if you want to do like a training membership class where every month you teach a new skill or a new service or share about a new service that you offer, and people that are in subscribe to the membership get exclusive discounts or perks, or they get exclusive information or training. You also want to budget intentionally. So save during high months and set a consistent payout for yourself. So don't just spend all of your money in one place expecting that you're going to get reimbursed the next month. Like, strategically plan and make sure you have a budget so that if something does happen in business, you're still able to stay afloat. And you want to also take into consideration your slow season. So budget intentionally. Also stay visible. So like we mentioned, set up different automations, keep showing up online, use your off season to create like content, education, and audience growth. And then my last piece of advice would be to collaborate, like partnering with complementary businesses that are busy when you're not. Just becoming more creative with how you market and who you're working with. This way your business becomes seasonally strategic, not seasonally limited. Okay. So honestly, the seasons of businesses, they mirror the seasons of life. You can't always be in a harvest season. Sometimes you're planting seeds, right? Like sometimes you're in your learning season. Sometimes you're in your resting and rebuilding season. So the problem isn't the season or seasonal businesses. It's when we compare our winter to someone else's summer. We're looking at apples and oranges again. We're always comparing and we're always wondering, how is this business doing that and my business isn't doing? We don't want to do that. You want to always be aware of what your competitors and what other people in the industry are doing, but you still want to make sure that you're not comparing to the point where you're letting yourself get discouraged and you're psyching yourself out of showing back up for your business. And then, a lot of times when we're comparing, we're not even comparing seasons to seasons. We're not comparing apples to apples. I've worked with some entrepreneurs where they'll start getting down on themselves about not receiving this much website traffic or this many orders. And I'm asking, why do you feel like you should be getting more orders right now? And they're like, well, such and such is getting. And I go and I look at this business that they're referring to. And I'm like, this business has been in business for literally 15 years. 15 years. This business has so many different platforms. They've been creating content for the last 5 years. They have done different marketing seminars. They have a different audience. They have a different story. They have a different marketing budget. And they have a different amount of skin in the game. So we're not even comparing their first year to your first year. We're not comparing their first 3 months to your first 3 months. We're comparing their 15 years to your 6 months in business. And that's just not that's not a fair comparison. Okay. So are seasonal businesses good ideas? Are they a bad idea? Just to answer the question. The question is, they're not a bad idea to have. Okay. As long as you can have a plan, discipline, and vision that stretches beyond one season. Okay. It's all about strategy, and you're going to need strategy in no matter what business or what area in business or what field you're in. Strategy and making sure that you are budgeting correctly and making sure that you stay innovative and that you're thinking ahead and not just for your current season is going to make all the difference. So I do want to thank you all for tuning into the Brittney Bundles podcast today. I hope that this helped kind of broaden some ideas and some different strategies and different plans that you may start implementing in your business. I really hope that it helps shift your mindset. I do want you to share the podcast. I'm going to encourage you all to do that. I really appreciate it. Tag me on social media at Brittney_bundles. Be sure to follow me there on Instagram and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, remember to stay inspired, keep growing, and your season is always coming back around. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you on the next podcast episode.